team, so here we are in the practice sheet. So you can make sure your sheet looks like this at the top, all about numerical patterns. So we're going to keep going with these number patterns. So we're going to solve some more mysteries and determine kind of what's happening in these different tables. I like to think of them like a little function machine. So the directions say we're going to determine the pattern and we're going to write the rule for each table. So again, we've practiced this a little bit. And what you're going to make sure to do is you're going to be putting something in for X, right? And then something's going to happen to it to make the Y coordinate pop out. So in this machine, right, if you will, when I put an X in, so say I put a 0 in, boom, I plunk it into the machine. Well, something happens to make a 4 pop out. And our question is, what is happening inside of this little machine to make a 4 pop out when we put a 0 in, right? And then we can test it by checking it with these other given ordered pairs. So 0, well, I could say 0, we could just be adding 4, because 0 plus 4 is 4. So let's try it. 0 plus 4, yep, it works. 2 plus 4 is 6. It works. Okay. 6 plus 4 is 10, and 8 plus 4 is 12. So we got it first time, right? So the rule is that we're going to be adding, or the pattern is that we're going to be adding 4. So the way that we're going to write it is we're going to say you get your Y coordinate, you get the thing in this Y column when you take your X. We can say X might be a 0 or a 2 or a 100 or a 13. And then you do what to it? Well, every time we add 4. So our rule is you get your Y equals X plus 4. You get your Y coordinate, which is equivalent to taking your X and adding 4, no matter what that X coordinate is. So let's do another one. So over here, we could say we're going to have our Y being equal to something. We don't know what yet, so let's dig in. So we're going to start with our X's and try to get a determination of, in this machine, now this machine can only do one thing, right? So we're trying to figure out what it can do. So you put in an X and a Y pops out. Well, this time, say we put in a 1 in the X sort of slot. How does a 3 pop out? Well, 1, we could do times 3. So if we tried times 3, we then try it down here. 5 times 3 is not 7. Okay, so that doesn't work. So let's go back and rework it. So if we want to try something else, we could say that didn't work. Cool. What about another way to get from 1 to 3? Well, 3 is bigger, so we need to do an operation that's going to help us get bigger. So let's try adding 2. 5 plus 2 is 7. 9 plus 2 is 11. 15 plus 2 is 17. Okay, so we've determined that every time you're going to be adding 2. So to get your Y will equal what happens, what you do to your X, right? So Y is going to be equal to what happens to your X. So you take your X, and what do you do to it? Well, in this case, we know that we're going to add 2. And you can test it, right, to make sure it works. So let's say X, you're no longer a mystery, you're a 1. So 1 plus 2 is 3. And is there a 3 in our Y column? Yes. So 3 is equivalent to 1 plus 2. So it works. So this is sort of the idea. You're going to be determining, you're going to be looking at your data, looking at your information, figuring out what happens every time between your X to get to your Y, and then you're going to write it as a rule.